Morning, everyone. My name is Sean, and today I want to take you on a journey into unseen costs of global shipping. We all know that shipping is a backbone of world trade, carrying around 80% of goods by volume. It gives an affordable electronic, cheap clothes, and fast supply chain. But behind this efficiency lies a hidden story. What happened when ship and people who run them reach the end of the line? On one side, we find abundant crew stuck on ghost ship, and on the other, we see hazardous ship recycling. So, especially, I want to focus in South Asia. My key message is this: these are not rare accidents. They are built into a very structure of global shipping, an industry that minimizes costs but push the risk onto seafarer, worker, and the environment. First, let's turn to the issues of seafarer abandonment. Traditionally, a ghost ship means an empty vessel drifting silent at sea, but seems like today the term often means something far more troubling. Ships that still have crew on board stranded because their owner have walked away. The International Labour Organization and IMO define abandonment as when seafarers go unpaid for at least 2 months, when they are denied food, water, or right to go home, and when ship owner cuts off all responsibility. And actually, this isn't rare. In 2023, around 140 ships were abandoned. In 2024, this number has then doubled over 310 cases. Together, these cases represent more than $20 million in unpaid wages. So, at the end of the latest report from 2025, show that the trend is still rising. So that's one sound like a rare maritime horror story is now becoming a systematic crisis. So why does this happen? Seafarer abandonment often stem from financial collapse. Ships are expensive to operate, especially as they age. When debt outweighs profit, some owners simply stop paying the crew. But the real animal is the flag of convenience system. Ships are registered in states like Panama, Palau, or Tanzania. These states have weak enforcement. 90% of abandoned ships in 2024 flew flags of convenience. This creates legal visibility, owners hide, and crews suffer. So let me share the story of the oil tanker MT-IBA. In 2017, its owner stopped paying wage and walked away, leaving the crew stranded of the coast of UAE for nearly 4 years. Seafarer lived on board without pay, with food and water running dangerously low. They could go ashore. They couldn't go ashore, trapped by legal restriction while their family at home struggled without income. Only after a storm in 2021, it pushed the ship onto the beach and the charity intervened and the crew were finally sent home. But even then, they received just two-thirds of their wages. This case shows that behind the term ghost ship are real people, left abandoned and invisible to the world. Since 2017, the Maritime Labor Convention has included amendment requiring ship owner to carry insurance to cover abandonment. On paper, it's what breakthrough finally, but a safety net is actually a safety net for crews stuck on ship without pay. But in reality, the story is different. Take the case of aid trader. Even though insurance was in place, the crew could not leave because port state authorities refused to accept them ashore. They remained trapped on the vessel. This reminds us that law may exist, but without consistent enforcement, they are only half effective. Now let's shift to human cost to environment ones. Ship recycling sounds like a green solution. After all, steel can be reused, emissions are reduced, and like in Bangladesh, as much as 60% of domestic steel come from old ships. But when you peel back surface, it's often a toxic trade. Ships contain asbestos, BCBs, oils, and heavy metal. And who will dismantle them? Poorly, poorly protected worker cutting the cutting through steel with their bare hands on the open beaches. The International Labour Organization has even labeled shipbreaking as one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. So, how exactly the ship be dismantled? The dominant method in South Asia called bleaching. Ship deliberately driven at full speed onto turtle flats. So once it grounded, worker will go in with handheld torches to cut them apart. The consequences are severe. Hazardous material leaked into the sand, the sea, and the groundwater. Workers face constant danger like fire, explosion, falling steel blade. So 1 year to 2025, 2024 alone, 9 workers were killed and 45 seriously injured in South Asia. For many years, life expectancy is up to 20 years shorter than national average. Is recycling, yeah, but is devastating human cost. Where does this all happen? Mainly in three hotspots: Chittagong in Bangladesh, Alang in India, and Gadani in Pakistan. Together, these three countries dismantled over 80% of world ship in 2024. For Bangladesh, this industry alone supplied the majority of domestic steel. But why do ship owners prefer these yards? Because they offer a high scrap price as the result of cheap labor and weak regulation. It's simple economics. The risks are externalized and the profits are internalized. The international community has tried to regulate ship recycling, but with limited success. The first major step was the Basel Convention in 1989. This treaty classified end-of-life ship as hazardous waste. In theory, this means they cannot simply be exported to developing countries for dismantling, but in practice, it's very easy to evade. Ship owners often disuse a vessel as if they're going to for repair, then divert them to scrapping yard. The second effort was the Hong Kong Convention in 2009. After years of delay, it finally entered into force in 2025. This agreement required every ship to carry an invention of hazardous material and for recycling yard to be certified. But here's the problem. The convention still allows the bleaching method. Critics argue that instead of banning unsafe practice, it risks legitimizing them under a thin layer of paperwork. So, despite decades of negotiation, global governance remains fragmented and weak. These are rules on paper, but in practice, the incentives for cheap recycling still dominates. For the unified thread, so at first, abandonment and recycling might seem like separate issues, but they are deeply connected. So a ship abandoned today often ends up as scrap tomorrow. And ironically, the very system designed to solve abandonment insurance, and repatriation. Remove the screw, leaving behind an empty assets that can be sold for recycling. What we see are two crises with the same root cause: the tendency of shipping industry to externalize costs and avoid responsibility. And the challenge ahead may be even greater. According to UNCTAD, the average age of the world fleet is now 22 years. BIMCO predicts that by 2032, around 15,000 ships will need to be dismantled. This coming wave will be the real test of Hong Kong Convention. Will it genuinely raise standards, or it will simply rubber stamp rubber stamp business as usual? That's actually a big question. So to conclude, the Seafarer abandonment and unsafe recycling are not isolated accidents. They are systemic outcome of a profit-driven model that pushes costs onto worker, communities, and the environment. The question we must ask are: who holds real responsibility? Is it ship owners, flag states, port states, recycling nation, or even us as consumer? And can governance ever be strong enough to align profit with accountability? The container ships we see on the horizon are not only carrying goods, they are also carrying hidden human and environmental costs. These costs that we, as future professionals in this industry, must learn to recognize and address. So, thank you for listening. This is the end of my presentation. See ya.